Sublime magnificence.
Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellisfeo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of the This Guy Hasn't Seen podcast, where we trade movies and everything back and forth that one guy has seen and the other hasn't. And as usual, first to get things first off, I'm going to introduce my running mate, one of my best friends in the world, my co-host, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hey, what's going on, Omari? Thank you for having me back as always. Man, it's like a revolving door in this place.
Right?
What is going on? We just got all these friends stopping by.
Yes, indeed. And we got another one this week. If he looks familiar, he'll probably explain why. He did that a few times on the other show I've had him on where he guest starred. But he is another one of my best friends in the world. I've been very gifted. You think it's just a catchphrase when I say one of my best friends in the world, but no, it is not. I'm just that fortunate to have this many. And this man is no exception. Give it up for Ibn.
What's going on? Yeah, man, you guys have seen my brother, Super Jazz, excuse me. He's my brother. He's done podcasts with Omari and other things, and I felt like I should get it on the action because it looked fun. So.
Yes, and we're happy to have you. And this week, well, like we normally do when we have a guest, we generally have the guest be the one suggesting the movie for us to watch. And this week, we are watching Hollywood Shuffle.
Hollywood Shuffle from 1987. An actor limited to stereotypical roles because of his ethnicity dreams of making it big as a highly respected performer. As he makes his rounds, the film takes a satiric look at African-American actors in Hollywood. It is directed by Robert Townsend. It is written by Robert Townsend. It is starring Robert Townsend. It also has, of course, Keenan Ivory Wayans, Craig Johnson, Helen Martin, and so many more. Ibn.
It's also executive produced. He financed everything with credit cards, all himself.
Nice.
So yeah. So he did it all himself, all of it. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yes.
Ibn, why did you end up picking this movie for us? I know we talked about the one movie first, and I had seen that, and then you pretty quickly fired off this answer. So,
like I say. Yeah, it was going to be The Last Dragon, but like Bill said, he'd already seen it, and we wanted to do something where two of us haven't seen something. So I picked Hollywood Shuffle. Both of y'all haven't seen it. I thought it would be good. I remember laughing at it. I had seen it a few years ago. My mom really, really liked it. She wanted me and my brother, me and Super Jazz, to watch it with her one day. And it was really, really good. And I really, really loved it. I love just like, I just loved it. There you go. Put it that way. Simple as that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I hadn't seen the movie myself because I'm gonna be honest. I also don't think I had heard about it. I know I'm very lightly familiar with Robert Townsend. I remember was it The Parenthood?
That's what it was.
Yeah, The Parenthood was a show that I watched as a kid but didn't really grasp anything from it. In fact, the only character whose name I'd be able to tell you is Wendell. Who played Big
TK,
Worm.
the bad kid?
No, I remember Big Worm's actor was Wendell because I thought he was funny. And I remember Robert Townsend played the main character. I would not be able to tell you the main character's name. That's how little attention I guess I was
probably
actually
Robert.
paying. I'm just saying.
It was probably Robert.
Probably, but that's how little attention I was actually paying back then.
Right.
However, in my adult life, I've seen more and more stuff that Robert Townsend's had his hand in and/or done, including this now, and have grown a lot more like respect for him. Or we'll see how I feel after this movie. But I've been learning more about his stuff, and I was kind of intrigued. Bill, how are you on this movie before You hear about it? Heard about it?
I don't think I knew that this movie existed. I knew very loosely. I was somewhat aware of Robert Townsend's true career path in Hollywood, but to me, he was the guy in Meteor Man that I had seen once when I was a child.
Love that
I
movie.
did not know that he directed and wrote that as well.
One of my favorites.
And then yeah, he was very TV dad vibes because of the Parenthood. And I told my wife that I was watching this movie, and she was like, "I don't know what that is." And I was like, "It's starring Robert Townsend." I don't know who Robert Townsend is. It's this guy. And I show her a picture of Robert Townsend, and she goes, "Oh, the guy from oh shit, I just had it in front of me. The guy from the dad from Up and Away, a Disney TV movie that Robert Townsend wrote, directed, and starred in 2000 about a superhero family."
Yeah, it was on Disney Channel.
Yeah. That's how my wife is knows Robert Townsend. But meanwhile, as Jazz said, he is, or sorry, as Ivan said, I'm so used to Jazz being here.
Hey man, it happens, dude. It happens.
Oh man. But as Ivan said, this cannot be, this movie can't be spoken about without the story of Robert Townsend.
Yeah.
And his life as an actor forcing him into making this movie, as Ibn said, maxing out credit cards, borrowing money from anybody he could, calling friends in for favors, literally just calling all the people that he would go to these cattle call auditions with, calling all these dudes that he saw, calling all these ladies. I even saw an interview after the movie. I watched a little behind the scenes where he talks about how it was even awkward. Like he was calling these women that he had just seen in auditions and knew that they did good work and that they deserved better. And he literally had to be like, "I know this sounds like the creepiest thing you've ever heard in the world, but I'm making a movie and it's going to be really good, and I want your help," kind of thing. And so yeah, he did all of this over the course of, I think it was 4 years. Like, the story is so powerful, but I knew none of that going into this movie. I just knew of, as I said, like very 90s TV dad vibes.
Same.
And that I also knew of this Robert Townsend, who was a director. I knew he was a director in the 80s and kind of an apprentice, a someone that Keenan Ivory Wayans kind of looked up to. I knew that peripherally, but not in any great detail.
Yeah.
So as we start getting in, credits start opening. What are we?
Some initial reactions. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, like, the main thing I remember from it the first time before I even saw it, my mom, she was, at the beginning, he's like, Jimmy. That little weird voice. My mom, she was saying that, and I'm like, Mama, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, that was in Hollywood Shuffle. And like, it just sounded so weird to me. So I'm like, let me see this movie. So that's just one of the main things I remember from opening. So
yeah, that definitely called me a good. Tommy, come on, Tommy, leave me alone. I was not expecting that voice to be Robert Townsend. I thought Tommy Davidson before I thought Robert Townsend, just based on...
I hope, but how I read that, I think is an extremely artistic choice to open this movie. Is we open on seeing nothing and just hearing this voice, and your brain, and like, again, I'll say throughout this whole movie, I'm jumping into this conversation, but I don't know if I really have a place in this conversation. But I enjoy attempting to participate in it. So when that starts and you see nothing and you're hearing that voice, you have to build in your mind what that voice is and what's happening, and to not go to stereotypes with a voice like that is a challenge in my brain. I'm not gonna lie. And I think he's doing that intentionally. And then to open very slowly on just a normal dude in the bathroom with a little kid, like, and it's very clear it's like the reading lines thing. I thought it was a really, really cool way to open this movie about what considering what it's speaking of throughout the film.
Indeed. Yeah, and then you had that opening scene with him just practicing in the mirror, and I was like, I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, this guy, while Robert Townsend is more talented than I thought than I had in his head, because like you said, TV dad vibes, and immediately I'm seeing him as something completely different. I thought the character himself, I'm like, this voice, why is he choosing this voice? He'll never get the fucking part like that. Like, it's so fucking terrible, which I guess when you talk about the artistic thing and the aspect of it throughout, where it's like a lot of people probably would be like, nah, that ain't it, but somehow this is what always gets cast anyway. You know, it doesn't seem natural even to black people, but that's what they decided to cast us all as. So I was like,
I mean, okay. when he starts the conception of this movie, we're talking like 1983, and he has been attempting to be a working actor through the majority of the 70s. It is not hyperbole or a joke. The roles offered are pimps. Yeah. And they were forced to talk like that. Like it's insane.
And pimps and hoodlums, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and to think about it too, it's still kind of like that. Another reason why I like this movie, because it still holds up today. You know, we still kind of getting those roles, like black people getting that. So when you kind of I
do feel like we get a lot more than just that now.
Nowadays,
we get a lot of those. Like, those roles will never go away. To expect a stereotypical black character to never show up in anything ever again at any point in history would be like expecting any stereotype whatsoever. Those people are still gonna exist. Not all of us talk like Lamar from Grand Theft Auto 5, but there are plenty Lamar motherfuckers out there.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's always going to be some writer's idea of this character is gonna do this. I'm just happy that now we can do the other roles.
Right. Let me ask you this though, Pete, man. Have you ever gone through something like that? Like when you try to audition for something and all you can get is like a stereotypical role, something like that, or
not really. Okay. I've been lucky enough with that.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, but definitely no role where I had to.
Oh man, that's funny.
But would I play a thuggish role in something? Sure.
Okay.
As long as I don't, unless it's clearly for parody like it is in this movie, I'm probably never gonna go that far with it because that'd be weird. Okay. But yeah,
right.
I mean, well, a laugh's a laugh. But yeah, anyway, they also had that shit. There's a bat in my house. Time to get Betty, or whatever it was. Betty. I was like, what the fuck is this? There's a bat in my house. Shit. Okay. And he leaves the house, goes out, and I'm like, so I don't read the synopses because I feel like sometimes they give the whole plot away.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Other times they talk really in depth about something that took 5 minutes out of the movie, and make you think that's what the whole movie's about. Other times it's here's the whole plot. So I just kind of skip the synopses if I can. So I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I figured, I was like, oh, so everybody knows this dude and that he wants to be an actor. Like, everybody around. Hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, good luck at your audition today. Hey, don't you ask off today about some fucking audition or something. Just everything. Everybody knows this. And I'm like, all right. But I guess when it comes to initial reaction, my last initial reaction, as opposed to like standout moments and stuff, is I just loved seeing all this like who's who list of old of old school black actors.
Yes. I
like,
loved it,
all
man.
the people popping up. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I love how he came up with the Wayans family, you know, and kind of put them on. And Keenan took that and started doing his thing with his spoofs and Living Color, stuff like that. That woman, Anne Marie Johnson, who was his girlfriend.
Yeah, she was
in Living Color.
She's in
Keenan
Living
has
Color.
a co-writing credit on this film, and I feel like you definitely see nuggets of In Living Color living in some of these vignettes that happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
I didn't recognize old girl from In Living Color, but I recognized her from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say
halfway
that
through
too.
the movie,
Right.
I was like, wait, is she the My Eyes Aren't Really Green chick?
Yeah, she's a fake woman.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had Paul Mooney.
Paul
He was the guy
Mooney,
that
John
in
Witherspoon.
NAACP.
Yeah, John
Witherspoon, rest in peace. Paul Mooney, rest in peace. The grandma, his grandma, she was in Don't Be a Menace, which is a Keenan Ivory Wayans movie.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Am I forgetting everybody else?
I mean, we said the Wayans, so that counts
The
Damon
Wayans,
as well.
they were all in. Kim Wayans, she had a small little part when they was the NAACP. She was somebody standing in the crowd. So,
okay.
So they all came up together, and I love how he put them on. You know, and they came and put other people on and did all that. So that's just like, that's how you do it, man. You know, I like that.
Helen, the grandma, has been working since 1955.
Nice.
In the Phoenix City Story.
Can I get her whole name again?
1955. Helen Martin.
Helen Martin. Yes.
Is she still alive?
No.
Okay.
No.
She passed away in the year 2000.
Okay. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Indeed. But yeah, she was always she was definitely recognizable as well. Like just about everybody in this movie. But any initial reactions from you, Bill? Or you just
the just kind of realizing what we were in for. I was kind of mapping it out in my head, spotting as basically the same notes you kind of hit, spotting the actors that partially I'm like, all right, our main character is a little selfish, just pulling up into his car and asking everybody to come out to his car, walking up to a window, just knocking on it and being like, get her attention, like just walk in there and say hi. I don't know. So that threw me off a little bit. But then going into the audition and the casting director that ends up being in there throughout the film, man, that trio is it's almost hard to watch. They are brutal, and it's probably
needs to be a little more
I wouldn't be surprised if each one of the three of them are based on very, very specific people that these actors have encountered. Yeah, that Robert and Keenan have encountered many times. So yeah, that was definitely an initial reaction standout moment. Was that first cattle call audition moment once he gets past the saying hi goodbye to his coworkers and then hi goodbye to his girlfriend. That first cattle call audition scene was pretty rough.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say too.
Rough in a good way.
Yeah. The guy he met at the audition that was talking to him, they struck up a conversation.
Yeah.
He worked with him in Meteor Man.
Gotcha.
I don't know if y'all seen. He was the leader of the Golden Lords.
Nice.
Remember that? Yeah. So they put a lot of people on, man. But
that dude that pulled him over, this is bullshit, right? They got you playing a stereotype and stuff. I was like, this dude, it seems like he's gonna give the most stereotypical audition possible. Mm-hmm. Like that's the vibe.
He did too.
I didn't buy his you better than that for 1 second. I'm like, he's just trying to put thoughts in his head. He's just gonna take the fucking role or try to get the role himself.
I saw through that dude the whole time.
Especially when they brought him back later and he was clearly dressed as a thug and he's like, you doing this movie? You know they gonna pick it. I mean, I'm different. I wouldn't do it if I were you. You the guy they picked? You shouldn't, right? Just guilt-trip the shit out of him the whole movie. But yeah, I guess just jumping into like standout moments and shit throughout the thing. The first thing for me was black acting school, where they pretty much give you the premise of the movie. Like this is what this movie is about. The fact that they only cast black actors for this role. So you better be ready to do this. You know, do you want to be a slave or a butler? School. Yeah, black acting school.
That was cool.
The runaway slaves with the butler.
And then he has a British accent, right? You know what I'm saying? Like all these black actors that are prominent in America they're British people, but they put on good American accents. You look at it, it's like, why can't they get anybody African Americans to do that shit? Like you look at The Wire, Idris Elba. You know, if all you saw was The Wire, you wouldn't know he was a British man. Right? You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know. So he's really good. Don't get me wrong, but
it surprised me. It surprised me. There's a few folks that the first time they suddenly, it's alarming.
And they are much better at talking like us than the other way around.
Yeah.
Then you had the critic thing, the sneaking into movies.
Yes,
and all the skits involved with that. That was a good.
That's probably my favorite vignette, and it might be the one that it feels very in living color, like I really enjoyed that vignette. That one was pretty.
It kind of reminds me of the Homeboy Shopping Network, the way they were talking. So so you remember more money, you know that So kind of reminds me of that.
Pimp zombies.
Yeah, that was so damn stupid. Now let me ask you this question though. When they had the one with Chicago Jones, right? Well, okay. So now, was she wearing a white dress at first, and then when they jumped off, she was wearing a red dress? Was that a blooper? Or was I tripping?
Yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know what. Yes.
It was either
yes, and I don't know.
It was so the dress color changed. Yes, whether or not it was a blooper, that could be up for whatever. It could have been done on purpose by them as a obvious stunt double type deal. Mm-hmm. She's got the red dress on, but it could also have just been, oops, we put her with the wrong color dress on, or an Easter egg to be like, this will be funny. What if she's wearing a different fucking dress?
Right. That kind of reminds me of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, when the mom was fighting in that one fight scene, and then the obvious stunt double, that man, it was a man.
Yeah, exactly. The dude dressed up as her. So
that was one of the funniest parts I've ever seen in a movie, man.
That lends more credence to the whole. This is obviously not the same two people jumping off.
Right.
On this clip. But he shouldn't have survived that. What are you talking about? It's realistic because he braced himself and he landed on the ground.
I loved it. Like Robert Townsend's delivery of his character in the movie theater for all of those things was, oh my God, I loved him in that.
Yeah. He is very good with those voices. That is one of the main things I took from this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
All them voices he put on, he was so good at that.
I learned about how actually talented the man truly is with this movie. Mm-hmm. We wanted Eddie Murphy type and everything that came off of that whole side.
I heard a story of so obviously they all revered and respected Eddie Murphy because he is like the number 3 movie star of the 80s at this point. Like he hasn't even topped off his 80s career yet and just completely strangleholded the dominance. And he hears about it in the pipeline and is like, hey, I want to see this movie. So Robert Townsend and Keenan set up a little private screening where Eddie Murphy shows up with this giant entourage, and they set up in the theater, and this scene starts to approach, and Keenan and Robert are like clenching their chairs. They're like, we love him, but we don't know how he's gonna. And there's stone silence as the scene starts to go in, and then all you hear is one giant belly laughing voice coming out of the theater, and Eddie Murphy is just dying laughing through the Eddie Murphy vignette. And honestly, he has a credit to the assistance of a lot of these people's careers. He sees this movie and immediately provides some financial and obviously notoriety support behind Robert Townsend's career, immediately pays him a ton of money to direct Raw.
He did direct that,
yeah. Robert Townsend immediately directs Raw this next year, or technically the same year this came out, but he was already done with the other movie. And then the Hollywood legend is Eddie Murphy is the one who walked up to Keenen Ivory Wayans and was like, "You should bring back the blaxploitation movie." And then we have "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker."
Gotcha.
So
I like how he sees this movie about they always cast us in blaxploitation things, and then goes there like, "You should make a blaxploitation."
I mean, maybe it was like you should take it back kind of thing. But yeah, he apparently immediately walked up to these two men. He was like, "You're gonna be a great director. You go start directing. Start with my stand-up comedy special. You go write more comedy skits."
Yeah. Oh man, now this is funny. Y'all might laugh at me for this. So when I was like around 3 or 4, right? And that's around the time when Meteor Man came out. And my mom took me and my brother, to see Meteor Man at the drive-in. When the drive-in still existed. So tell you how old I am now. We went to see it, and I thought Robert Townsend was Eddie Murphy. So I was just a young, stupid kid, because they just look so much alike to me. So you're talking about it. That's just funny to me. Yeah, so yeah, man, that's just funny. That's just funny.
Mm-hmm. On a more serious note, I like the uncle's speech about the dreams.
That was
really
beautiful.
Good. That was really good.
That was really pretty.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good speech and good moment about that.
Mm-hmm.
You had the noir one with Sam Ace. And
Death of a Breakdancer. That was my favorite one.
Yeah,
Jerry Curl. That was
the taking okay. Hey, now that's my activator. As his hair just keeps getting less and less Jesse.
Yeah, like just dry and nappy and shit. I was laughing my ass off every time. He said, "Hey, how about I just pour it out, man? Just pour it. No, don't do that, no." Oh shit, that was funny as hell, dude. And then every time, the whole time, He's like, don't do it, don't do it. Every time you cut back to him, his hair just get nappier.
Exactly. His hair just kept getting worse every time they cut back. Like, just instantaneously. If you don't Jerry curl, it just instantaneously. That is how they apparently, damn near how much they used to use that stuff, though. It was like they feared it going out if they stopped ever.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard. That's how you remember that part in Coming to America when they went to McDowell's house and the family had the Jerry curl and they got up and there was a stain everywhere they were sitting. There was a stain.
Yeah,
on the back of the chair.
They just had the 3 stains on the couch.
Yeah.
The Soul Glow family.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that movie.
Let's see. Obviously, we have when we get nearer to the end, the grandma has already voiced her disapproval to the mom.
Grandma sees the entire business from a mile away. Pretty much the entire movie that we know, the entirety that we know Grandma's like, I don't like it. I'm going to give off vibes that I don't like it and I don't trust it. And then she eventually just full on, just really voiced her opinion. But yeah, the whole movie, her character is like, okay, audition. Yeah. Sure, good luck.
Now, I don't know why he brought the family to the set, but he did.
Because he's starring in it. He's starring in it.
But
he wanted them to support him. That's what it was. He wanted support.
When you know you're that embarrassed to be doing it, you know what I mean? To wait till it debuts.
I mean, at that point, when you're only reading the script, maybe it just doesn't feel as bad as until
you're literally sitting there with your grandmother watching as you have to act like this.
Yeah. That made that whole scene really hard to watch, knowing that family was like right over there off camera.
Exactly. That's what
that made that so fucking hard.
It was his first big role, so I could see why he would have him over there. He wanted them to see him.
Was his girl there too? I can't, in my memory, I can't see her.
I think so.
I don't remember she wasn't on. Was she? I don't remember.
His little brother was.
Yeah, and his grandma and his mom. I don't think his girl was there. But yeah. But
I get it though. Like when you do something like that, something big like that, your first big role, you want your family to come. I get it. But like you say, I see your point of view too. Like, why would you want them to see this stereotypical shit? So
well, if you're that embarrassed about doing it, you know what I mean?
Right, that too.
Like if you're that guilty, you don't want them at the filming. You may have them come to the first, showing, and then kind of cringe in your seat to yourself, where you're like, I got the bag, but now I have to see the family. But at least you're set. You got your foot in the door with Hollywood and all that anyway. So that's all I was saying. It's like you have come to terms where you're like, I don't like this role, but I'm doing it so I can get a job in Hollywood that gets my career off the ground. It's a necessary evil is how you already saw it. But now you're perpetuating or you're perpetrating this necessary evil in front of the people that you're more ashamed to admit that you're doing it to in the first place. I get why you want someone there to support you, but just looking at it in the moment, it's like, oh no, why'd you bring them? This isn't good.
I mean, it's one of them things where it's like you live and you work. You know what I mean? So I get it though. But
but it was a powerful moment where he turns around and then sure enough, instantly, we'll get someone else to do it. I'll do it.
Of course.
Here comes that motherfucker.
You know it's gonna be him.
Lying about the NAACP pickets and stuff.
Yep.
I do like that he just looked at her just, you ain't shit. Like, you son of a bitch. Like, how dare you? You've been talking to me this whole time about You gotta be smart for
Sticking
your
together.
race. Yeah.
Yeah, some fucking bullshit.
Hypocritical ass nigga.
Yeah, it's like if you're willing to do the role, don't get mad at the people who are also willing to
put it
do the
on.
role. Obviously, he was just trying to convince him so he can get in instead. But
Yeah, he was
still.
just doing
of
some
course, of course.
some conniving. I mean, and that's probably some that I would imagine that's also a feature that Robert wanted to make sure he highlighted in the film somehow is that aspect. I mean, he's trying to depict his life in Hollywood, even though it's in a satirical fashion. And I'm sure there's those fucking cutthroat motherfuckers out there
Yeah.
that would do anything for the next role.
They like that song by the OJ's, Backstabbers. You know, they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place.
Yeah. What they do? But yeah.
I love the post office commercial.
Oh, at the end.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I
There's
love
always
that.
work at the post office.
Yeah, he's great. Like, and I love the lead into it of like, he's great. He's real and he's sincere and he's you just feel an honesty or whatever the lead in is with him. And he does. He like if you pretend that you're suddenly just watching a post office commercial, if that came on when I played I'm about ready to play a YouTube video and that's the lead in commercial that I can't skip through.
Yeah.
I would be like, man, I love this fucking post office guy. He was great at it. So yeah, and I love that was the end of his story as we know it, at least as an audience. Is like, okay, well, maybe maybe this is all he gets to is these training video movies and commercial level kind of actor, but you can live a life off of that,
Of course.
and if he's doing it for in a way that he can still respect himself, that's a good life. And so I think his character ends in a happy ending, and I love that ending scene.
And if you notice too, they brought it full circle because his grandma, that scene where she was talking to his mom about there, she's like, there's always work at the post office now. And then he goes and says, well,
Yeah.
there's always work at the post office.
Well, yeah, it's like, this is work, Mom. There's work at the post office. Yeah.
So
that's the movie, I guess.
Oh, one more thing before you say what you gotta say. Sorry. In the Parenthood, this movie reminds me of the Parenthood, the show, because he would always do these little vignettes and stuff in that show, and like he would be daydreaming, doing some little silly skit in that show, and I guess he took that from Hollywood Shuffle and put it in that TV show. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we'll get into like the final thoughts or whatever. All right. Yeah. So, Bill, final thoughts.
So I don't know. I feel like in hindsight I went a little hard on John from My Blue Heaven. Did I go a little hard on John from My Blue Heaven? How negative was I about My Blue Heaven?
I don't know if you were negative. I thought you thought it was kind of mediocre. Not terrible, but not fantastic.
That's a movie.
Yeah. That's a Steve Martin movie from around this era. The same movie era. I like this better than My Blue Heaven.
Same.
I think the movie in itself is just okay. I think there are some really funny moments, but there are some moments that can just kind of end up lulling and being a little boring. But the movie combined with the story of the movie, knowing all of that together, I think makes it a lot more interesting and powerful. And that's also just kind of how it's written. So he just kind of was getting together his buddies and like talking about their audition experiences and riffing on ideas. So it was just, I don't know. if I'm honest, I had a better time digging to all of those details than I did sitting and watching for an hour and a half.
I feel you. I feel you.
Because it's really just a few key moments for me that I really enjoy, and then the rest of it is just kind of okay for me. But still, I enjoyed my experience all in all,
Yeah.
pretty well.
Ibn, you said you wanted to go.
Yeah. For me, yeah, I really do like the movie. It's the story. The story is great. The message is good. What they were talking about still holds up today. Everything, and like Bill was saying, he likes the fact that the story behind it, and I kind of like how he came up and how he did it himself. It was pretty much a grassroots thing, you know. And I do like how he brought Keenan up and uh, what's her name, Anne-Marie Johnson, and John Witherspoon was in it and all that stuff, uh, um, and then it's just like a seminal um, moment, I guess you could say, in both Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory Wayans' careers.
Pivotal?
And I like how seminal.
Okay, seminal.
Yeah, it's kind of a seminal moment in their careers, and I like how you can like after like most people who haven't seen that movie, but they see other things that they've done, like In Living Color, Don't Be a Menace, Scary Movie, Robert Townsend, Meteor Man, Parenthood, stuff like that, and they see that, but then they go back and watch Hollywood Shuffle, and they see how they started, how they came up, and they're like, oh, okay, that's how they did it. You know, sometimes it's fun to go back and watch how people started off, and I like doing that a lot. So, and that's one of the things I liked about the movie too. So, in addition to it being a really good movie, I thought. So, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I do think Bill put it great when he said that the movie plus the story behind the movie is what elevates it as a whole and where a lot of its power comes from. Because while I enjoyed the movie and found some funny parts as well, I also was like, it was okay. It is a classic 80s movie.
I can see some.
But hearing all the other stuff is good. Me, I understand that this is, especially now looking at it as autobiographical and everything. Okay, I completely understand him coming to the conclusions he came to within the movie. Would it be hard for me I finally got my big break? Now, if I had my family in front of me, I probably would also just stop there, especially if they're looking at me with obvious disdain. But it'd probably be hard for me to walk away from a breakthrough role. If anything, obviously he gets the job at the post office and probably local commercials and stuff afterwards. But I could also do this movie and be like, that ain't for me, like, to keep doing this, like, to escape the typecasting. I'll just get my royalty checks from that, which apparently the movie seems like, at least, that it was gonna go off to be big, whatever this movie is. And if it is that big, I said it seems like that's how he's
Right.
That's how he's promoting it. Obviously, we watching what we see, we're like, this movie ain't going nowhere. But let's just pretend like in this universe where the directors are even more blatantly racist than they were in real life, let's assume that movie would go to the distance. I'd get my royalty checks from that while getting the post office ones as well. It's like, hey, I at least showed I'm a good actor, and I got all this other footage. If you want to see me doing other stuff, you got these commercials to show more range. I got my paycheck, but I also got my SAG card, so now I'm able to do career stuff. So but most movies where you walk away from the dream you wanted your whole life because honor family tradition, that's always kind of like very, very understandable. But just as a dreamer, it's like, damn, they had to give it away because they felt pressured by everybody else to do so. You got right to the finish line, but you're like, at what cost?
Right, I feel you on that.
I guess-
And it was really
I guess.
only, I mean, it was really just his grandma and his own pressure.
Yeah.
Well,
Like his
little
girlfriend
brother-
wasn't saying nothing about it.
His little brother was also upset he was doing the thing. His girlfriend was also making grimaces and stuff. Like everybody in that family was like noticeably upset with what he was doing in that final scene. The grandma especially, because we heard her the whole movie, so it definitely came off of her. But like there was a couple like from the love interest, his brother got happier when he quit.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just thinking like pre them witnessing it.
Oh no! Pre them witnessing it, it was just the grandma, which is probably
Right.
why he was able to
And
go
his
to
own-
the set. That's probably
Right.
what got him like, I'm going to the set. I'm gonna go ahead and go through with this. But then he saw them all there at the set watching him. And I'm like, even at that point, I probably would also back up if I'm in his exact
Yeah,
situation.
if you didn't invite any of your family there, you're making that movie. is maybe the story we don't see from this character.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's the parallel universe version of this story. It's like yeah,
Because at the end of the day,
he just makes that movie.
At the end of the day, like I said earlier, those stereotypes ain't going nowhere. Me taking my stand to not do this movie is not going to stop the next person who does just want that foot in the door and don't care what their family thinks about them.
There's
and all of
always
that
somebody
stuff.
hungry.
Well, and it's like I told somebody who was complaining about like fame and money the other day. I'm like, well, part of what keeps a lot of people shackled is their own sense of either self-worth or justice. Like, are you above doing this for money and or fame? Because there are probably a higher payer job than you have, but you ain't trying to do the dangerous shit involved. I ain't trying to climb phone poles and change electricity wires. I'm just gonna complain about my, ordinary job, but technically I could make more money, but I'm also not doing that. But that's on me.
Let me ask you. Right. Let me ask you this question. Well, both of y'all, because both of y'all are actors. I'm not. I'm the only one that's not an actor. Jazz, my brother, Super Jazz. He's an actor too. Is there a role that you all will never do? Like any kind of role?
We've talked about this in past episodes, at least on my end, because we've watched some depictions of some pretty hard racism in some of the things we've watched in past episodes, and then we regularly have a question in our format that is, what role would you play from this thing that we watched? And again, I'm kind of stuck in a little bit of a like this one not as bad as past episodes, but there have been times where I have never had to. There are even just normal theater plays, community theater plays, where someone has to be the really racist white person from the 1960s who, causes the switch in the main character's plot line kind of thing. Like somebody's got to play that villain. And I've never auditioned for any of those plays. And I don't know if I would be able to play that. Kind of just like those really hard, like, and even not just necessarily racist, but like anybody that's like hardcore evil. Like there are a lot of fucking plays that are just straight up about domestic abuse, in a relationship. And I don't know if I could do any of those. That would be really tough for me. I haven't truly been presented with because we can what if all day, but you don't know until it's right there in front of you we want you to be in this, disregard the content and disregard whether it's community theater or loosely paid theater or like at lower end, and that's probably what all I would get at this point in my life. But either way, it's somebody telling you like, hey, we had like 20 to 50 dudes that we looked at and we decided we want you for this. That feels great. But I don't I yeah, I don't know. I think at this moment my answer would be no. I would rather not do that play.
Yeah.
Sorry, Omari.
So I'm going to say there's definitely a role I won't play out there. Can I think of it off the top of my head? Not really, unless you want to, be the titular character in a biographical film about Tom Brady. I'm not going to do that, obviously.
You can't do it anyway.
I know, but I'm just like, I can't think of that. Now, when you talk about like being a super duper racist character, I think there is a certain level of evil I don't want to portray at this. To Bill's point, like maybe I don't want to do like pedophilia and nothing. I don't want to be that guy.
Hell no. I feel you.
I don't want to be that guy. However, I've already played a murderer. I've already played a child beater. I've already played a domestic abuser.
Oh shit.
So
a cartoon domestic abuser,
but a domestic abuser nonetheless.
Well, damn.
Obviously, there are caveats to, but that's the nuances in the roles. It was just more like you were just like, I could never be someone like. There's a lot of stuff with domestic abuse, and though yes, Little Shop of Horrors is a comedy first. Horace Carvello, DDS, is a motherfucker that deserved to die. And the crowd is perfectly okay with it because he beats the woman. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be. I'm just saying the crowd is perfectly okay with the main character being like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker, chop him up, and feed him to a plant. He deserves it. I played the guy that deserved to do that. So that's all I'm saying. As kooky cartoon as it is, he still was deplorable enough to deserve being chopped into bits.
True.
So
did you play? Oh, my bad. Sorry.
I played a child abuser. It was for a scene, but I played it, so I can't say I wouldn't. It's not even about compensation. I did it for class.
Right. Was it tough playing that role or anything like the child abuse role? No.
Not because I wasn't actually abusing a literal child.
Okay.
Like that probably would change things. But the guy was playing my son, and I beat him with a belt on stage.
Okay. Oh shit.
Yeah. He had a padding on. The director made a good choice in making sure we can make this as real as possible. He put some padding under the guy's shirt, and I hit the shirt where that padding was. Okay.
Could you play a crackhead or anybody on drugs or something like that, or strung out, or?
Could I? That's the thing. I'm pretty much willing to play a lot of roles. It would have to be like something nuanced to the role itself. And I don't know exactly what that is off the top of my head. But it's like the role itself would have to be specifically.
Okay, so fast forward 5 years. After this year getting a small cameo in something that's shot in Florida, you decide that you're going to do the thing, and you go and you start putting in the work, and you're in a little thing here, you're in a little thing there. You're not quite there yet. You're kind of at Robert Townsend's level, but in today's standards of just a ton of auditions and maybe a couple of little tiny bit roles, 1-2 lines. And then here comes a CSI audition, and CSI, this episode is taking place, and you are going to be the final bad guy that they end up nabbing. But it is the most stereotypical gangbanger role you could ever possibly imagine. Ring ring, Omari.
Doing it.
We'd like to have you for Tyreek.
I'm doing it.
Tyreek, of course, it's Tyreek.
I'm doing it. I'll be Tyreek. Well, and the other thing is, and that's the other thing for me. I think I'm also just trying to think of it from a standard of showing my range or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of roles are new opportunities, or like people don't see you as this. So you know what? People don't see me as a black person half the time. That whole can you do that a little bit blacker? I get that from black people in real life. So a stereotype role might be in the moment like this is a good chance to show people like no, I can be black if I want to. I don't have to talk like some bitch from the north side of the city or anything. I won't get into the details about that. You find the footage on the internet. But yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Watch the Whatever We Want podcast.
Okay.
Save it for the end.
Fine. Watch Bamboozled.
We only bring that up once per episode.
No, you bring it up once an episode. Watch our review of Bamboozled on this channel.
Yeah. You talked about it. I mean, it's very similar themes we're looking at here.
The portrayal of black people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it still goes on today, man. I get it.
I mean, it does. Like we've talked about it before. The amount of black cinema from the 80s and 90s that we are watching in standard definition that have not been remastered into high definition.
This as well.
There is zero reason why Set It Off is not in high definition.
It's not?
Other than racism, as far as I'm concerned.
It's not? What?
It's not.
What?
It wasn't when we covered it.
Like 6 months ago?
Classic. Yeah, like earlier within the last year.
That movie's a fucking classic. They didn't put it in HD.
Nope.
What?
They didn't do it for was Tales of the Hood. No, Tales
fucking
of the Hood
everything. Practically everything
Bamboozled was not.
Gets a
Bamboozled was standard.
Right, but that's also a weird. That's Spike Lee playing with the first generation of digital cameras.
Look, man,
like I wouldn't be surprised if it literally can't be high
Black
definition.
movie still in standard def. That's the point.
Right? No. That's true. That's true.
I never even thought about that. That's crazy.
I mean, Robert Townsend in himself, like you hear all the time about fucking Richard Linklater, maxed out his credit cards and bugged all of his friends on how to make Slacker. Like in like movie talk and indie talk, Kevin Smith maxed out all of his credit cards to make Clerks. How cool! And you hear about the birth of indie cinema with these people in like 1992. Meanwhile, in 1985, Robert Townsend is running around LA doing the exact same fucking thing 5 years earlier, and nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it.
That's what's
and the man has had an insane career. Yes. Like in the course of this, going through his IMDb, he has become like at one point he was like, it seems like he was like, nah, film, I'm done. TV, I can just create and direct whatever the fuck I want. And so he proceeds to do 2 to 7 TV shows and TV movies every year. Robert Townsend.
Oh, Robert Townsend. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every single fucking year, he directs multiple things. He works so goddamn much. It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, he's a really talented guy, man. He should be talked about more. He made the 5 heartbeats. I don't know why we didn't
know about
mention
the 5 heartbeats. Yeah. So. I forget. I think I've asked this man like 3 times, and I forget the answer every time about whether or not he's seen 5 heartbeats. But we'll deal with that later.
I've never seen it.
No,
I
have not. We've talked about that before.
I have.
I'm like the only black person that hasn't seen it. So.
That's okay. I was like, I'm probably one of the only black people that hasn't seen a lot of black movies. That's why I have friends that can come on the show and suggest them for me. So, And then, so as we wrap this up, did we talk about what we're watching next week, Bill? Or do we want to do that after the whole goodbyes and stuff?
Do you want me to pick?
Sure.
We're gonna watch Mission Impossible Fallout.
Much better than anything I would have picked. I'm down. Mission Impossible Fallout. Cool. So, Evan, you got any shout outs you want to send to people? Anything where people can find you or anything?
Shout out to these nuts. No.
All right. So if you want to find me, you can find me elsewhere on YouTube.
Don't follow me because I'm boring. I'm boring, and you wouldn't like what I do. If you follow me, he's just like, you looking at me like all this dude tweets about is wrestling and football
and basketball.
So basketball every now and then. So why would anybody care about me? If you want to follow me at ibdude, IBDUDE on Twitter. There you go. If you want to. Yep. But you're going to be bored, though. So.
Well, yeah, and like I said, you can find me here, obviously, every week, every Tuesday. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube on the Whatever We Want podcast. We do episodes every week, every Wednesday. I drew that show with a friend of the show, Super Jazz, Ibn's brother.
Stupid Jazz.
Ooh, got him. I also can be found on Twitter.
I'm gonna tell him you said
that. He's been saying it for 8 weeks. Ever since Jazz accidentally said it. He's been saying it.
Jazz got him
so. But yeah. So, Super Jazz, we do that every week, every Wednesday. You can also find me elsewhere on Twitter and Twitch at GioTavi. That is GIOTAVI.
Come on in. Stop on by.
Thank you very much. And Bill, you got anything to send the people home with? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic is going on.
Oh, shit.
It's really cool, and more people should check it out. It's basically like the World Cup, but for baseball. The world's best baseball players in the world are all playing for their home countries. The favorites this year are number 1, Team Dominican Republic, number 2, Team USA, and number 3, Japan. It should be pretty awesome. It starts with multiple pools from around the world playing in mini tournaments going on, and then eventually one big giant one taking place down in Miami with the final bracket of teams. Should be really cool. I think all the games are on the Fox Sports family of channels, or just sail the high seas. But more eyeballs should be on it.
Yeah.
R matey.
R. Anyway.
Matey.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bill. All right, guys, that'll be it for us. We'll see you next week with Mission Impossible Fallout.
I won't be there.
Adios.